Hello, welcome to Sportscast Podcast Episode 3. This week, we're going to talk about some major European action in the football, including the Conference League final, the Champions League, as well as some transfer rumours and managerial changes at the very top of the Premier League. Touch on the final of the French Open, USA Sports with Tom, boxing, golf, and then a look forward to the Formula 1 and the cricket as we build up to some major sporting events.
First of all, we'll start off with the football. There's been a couple of big games over the last week. Wednesday, you've had the Europa Conference League final with Westam and Fiorentina. Westam's first European trophy in 44 years, I believe.
47, 48.
Yeah, which...
Did you watch it?
Massive. I caught the second half, because first half I was playing football on the Wednesday, but the second half, so I saw all the goals really, because it was all sort of after the 60th minute.
I thought it was a really tight game, considering.
Yeah, I thought once Fiorentina equalised, I thought West Ham can't come back from it, to be fair. But Jared Bowen stepped up, yeah.
Love a last minute goal, especially in a final.
100%, yeah.
And it went, in my opinion, it went the right way.
Yeah. Wanted an English club to win it. Granted, it's West Ham and I'm a Tottenham fan and, not meant to like them, but it's an English club at the end of the day. Then, of course, had the Champions League final yesterday between Man City and Inter Milan. I'll be honest, the first 20, 25 minutes was not too great. I think they were just weighing each other out.
I thought Inter's man-to-man high press was phenomenal for 90 minutes, and I thought it really disrupted City.
Yeah, I think as well what didn't help was De Bruyne going off injured for his second time in a Champions League final for him.
But let's be fair, when you're bringing on Phil Foden, you're not going to worry too much about being without Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, no.
But the Inter Milan's high intensity press, which is what Liverpool have done for a few years, and it hasn't been there this year, which is why I think they've done so poorly. But Inter Milan did that against City, and no one's been able to do it for 90 minutes against City this season. I think that's why it's caused such a tighter game than what it needs to be.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, Edison being on top of his game saved that match.
Yeah.
Well, Lukaku also saved it as well for blocking one of his players' own shots on the line, but
yeah,
Edison...
In true Lukaku fashion.
100%. But Edison, some of them saves were just...
Including the one, the very last save of the game.
Yes, yeah.
From the corner.
The very last day of the game, yeah. And I watched it from a completely different angle, and it was the tippiest of toppiest of top bins.
Is that the one where it's sort of just behind the goal? That angle?
Yeah. And he punches that away, but that's going to hit the
curling.
roof of the net. That's honestly save.
A little bit of transfer managerial news. You've had
Ange Postecoglou.
Go to Spurs.
You think I should have to learn that name?
Happy with the appointment, being a Spurs fan?
Yes, very, because we've not gone down the route of let's get in the big name, the Jose Mourinho or the Antonio Conte that we've done to win something because they're serial winners. Go for a manager that has proven it in every league he's managed in. Granted, you've had, did it in Japan, did it in Australia, he's done it up at Scotland with Celtic.
Do you think he can win Spurs some silverware in the next couple of years, given Harry Kane's potential departure at some point?
Yeah, and if there's any time to do it, it's this season with no European football. So you just got the sole focus on
the Carabao and FA.
Yeah.
Lopez. I was a bit surprised. I didn't think... I'm not sure it was the right appointment based on what Levy does, where if he's going to chop and change, and he's given him quite a long contract,
4 years, but it was only rumoured initially to be 2.
Yeah, and you had like Conte on a rolling year, so if you're going to give him that kind of time, you give him that time, I think you might do something about it. But if you're expecting him to, be in the top 4 by Christmas and everything else, you might be in the top 4 by Christmas. have you got the squad to maintain that to the end of the season? Currently, probably not. If Kane goes, Ben Davies is not allowed to go in.
His scouting network though is unreal.
He's going to bring the young Japanese lad up from
Celtic. Yeah, but yeah,
and he will give you a different top man in what he does. He's not a Harry Kane-esque, but he, really rated. Would you take Declan Rice, or do you think he's dead set on United? Or
I think he's going to Arsenal. I think he's going to go to Arsenal. Yeah,
because they the next day said that he's leaving West Ham.
Yeah,
they've not.
Yeah, he's done what he needed to do for West Ham. But with Jorginho potentially leaving Arsenal already,
Right, I've not seen that one.
it's just a like-for-like replacement. Believe it's Lazio who are looking at him. So that's just a like-for-like. The price tag, I don't think warrants it.
It's English player,
100%.
inflation.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's the same with, Mason Mount potentially going to Man United.
60 million.
Yeah.
He's got 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
It's not worth that much.
It's the same for James Ward-Prowse as well. They want £52 million from Southampton.
Or Wolverhampton were favourites for him.
Yeah, but one again, he's out of contract next year, and two, the way I look at it, he's not a Premier League player anymore, so he doesn't warrant that price tag.
No,
he's a Championship player. Same with James Maddison. You've both got Newcastle and Tottenham looking at him, but Leicester are wanting 40+ million. Well, why? He's not a Premier League player anymore.
You could let him have a season in there, and then pick him up for half the price.
Yeah. So, but I think he'll go to Newcastle because they can offer him
Last bit
everything.
Of transfer news: Messi to Inter Miami.
Yeah.
Have you seen the contract details around that?
So from what I've read, correct me if I'm wrong here, every club pays for his wages in the sense of, because they know they're going to sell a game out because Messi's going. Apple have got something to do with his wages as well.
Yeah, so Apple own the TV rights for all the MLS, and it's something along the lines of he gets a share or a cut of the television rights. But the big one for me is that at the end of his contract, he has the opportunity to buy one of the MLS teams.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Which I think if he was to go to Saudi, which one of the Saudi teams did offer him a ridiculous amount of money for,
1.5 billion.
The opportunity for sort of not just financial, but the actual continuity of football, like in a way that you can own a football club, or you can be a major stakeholder in a football club.
Well, David Beckham bought into Miami for pretty much next to nothing. It's worth $600 million now.
Good investment.
Yeah,
very good investment.
He sacked former teammate Phil Neville at the beginning of last week as well.
Yeah.
So,
have you seen where he's actually got a new job?
Oh, has he got? I was just about to ask him.
Yeah, he's part of the Canadian national team's coaching staff.
I think
it's such a left turn.
If that's the level we're at now, let's move on to tennis. With Novak Djokovic taking his 23rd Grand Slam title on clay, which his opponent Ruud knocked Nadal out of this year. Swiatek taking the women's final. That's her third French Open in 4 years, so she's clearly having a bit of dominance on the clay courts. Going into Wimbledon, Djokovic picking up a major. There's been not really anyone to challenge. What do you think? Be a formality?
Yeah, you've just kind of just answered your own question. No one to challenge him. So we'll go over the pond to America, where you've currently got the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup going off at the moment. NBA, you've got the Nuggets 3-1 up on the Heat in the series, which nobody saw that one coming.
Well, you called Heat when we had the...
Yeah, 100%. I thought it were going to be all Miami. But...
take it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Game 5.
it's very rare that you'll see a team then come back from a 3-1 deficit to take it to Game 7 and win. Doesn't happen very often.
What's been the problem? Just no Jimmy Butler, or
No, he's been performing. I just think the Nuggets have just
no pressure.
Yeah, they've just found the sweet spot, and they just know what to do. Probably don't help with the Heat's mascot getting knocked out. I'll probably put them off the game.
Have you seen that?
Have you seen that?
I've not seen that.
So Colin McGregor was at the Heat game the other night promoting a pain relief spray, and part of the promo was he had to punch the mascot and then like spray him, kind of thing.
And the initial punch, the mascot had like this hat on, and he knocks the hat off before he falls to the floor. And then while he's laying on the floor, Conor McGregor then goes over him and throws another punch.
And has then put the mascot in hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
In
so
front of everybody. In front of the stadium.
A couple of questions is, number one, who was sat in a marketing department in a nice, comfortable air-conned office and said, I know what we can do. We can get one of the most brutal mixed martial arts
dangerous men on the planet
to absolutely knock the hat, the comical hat off a mascot. But then also, why did he go in for a second punch? At what point?
I think that's got to be pure instinct, isn't it? In the octagon, if he's put someone down, your instinct is to go, I'm finishing this guy.
But the guy usually isn't wearing a large bear costume or whatever he was wearing. What was the costume?
It is.
It's like a bird-esque thing.
Yeah, because it's Miami, isn't it? So
Okay, so Conor McGregor has knocked the cartoon hat off a bird to promote.
a pain relief
Got it. Understood.
spray. Yeah. Then moving on to the ice hockey. You've got the Vegas Knights, who could be crowned champions in their own stadium come Tuesday or Wednesday. Beat Florida Panthers 3-2 last night.
I think that sells it now.
Good. Yeah, you'd think so. Going back to your home turf, yeah, you're going to do it. And to be fair, there's something brewing because it just kicked off after the buzzer went yesterday as well. All players having a massive ball.
End of the game,
Just boom. Just
18, 20 rounds.
Yeah.
I think Sky Sports probably forgot to edit that bit out when they were showing the highlights.
Yeah, I think so. But good on the Knights, though, to be fair, because a relatively new team.
Yeah, only founded in 2017.
Yeah.
And they've done a lot. They've got a really, really, really good opportunity.
So, do you think then we talk about a new team, but then the new team at the top, when a new team forms in any other sort of sport, British sport, they don't start at the top. You don't have a new team, Doncaster City, start in the Premier League where they can challenge for a title. They kind of, they've started in about the 11th tier. And I know they've just signed half of ex-conference players in a bid to absolutely excel at the divisions, but they're not starting. Vegas Knights have started in the top tier of ice hockey.
It's a bit different, though, with American sports because they don't have leagues in theory. Like, you can't get relegated from any of their leagues.
To just... Is it an as big as achievement when the reality is from day one they were already trading with top teams for the top players? So is it as big of an achievement as, say, a Luton in 8 years going from the conference to the Premier League because they have had that? Do you see what I mean?
I get where you're coming from, yeah. I mean, start any franchise in American sports, they don't get the big names straight off the bat.
But they did. They had ex-Penguins keeper Matt Fleury, in sticks and things, who multiple Stanley Cups with Penguins. So they did get some big names to start with. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Do we know where the money comes from with the Vegas Knights? Is there a single owner? Is it like a franchise thing? Because obviously Luton Town or Doncaster City or whoever, they couldn't just buy Messi, Ronaldo. They couldn't just buy world-class players and then instantly challenge for the Champions League final. They've got to, similar to like the ice hockey, they've got ridiculous money and ridiculous players, and therefore they can buy these players to immediately compete.
They're owned by Black Knight, which is a sport and entertainment business consortium. So it's kind of top people, top businesses that own, that are funding.
Yeah. So it straight away invest a couple of $1 billion in building a huge, great big. I think it's the O2 Stadium or the
T-Mobile
Stadium. That's the one. T-Mobile Stadium. This huge, beautiful new stadium in just off the Las Vegas Boulevard, and then buy a shed load of really good players, and then challenge for a Stanley Cup in 7 years.
Well, a little
6 years.
of knowledge there. That, to be fair, I've just read it. It's quite cool. The guy who owns that company, Bill Foley, is one of the American consortiums who paid a bunch of money for Bournemouth as well. So he's a part owner of Bournemouth in the Premier League.
There's talks of Leeds United as well selling to San Francisco 49ers owners.
Went through.
Has it gone through?
Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday, one of the two went through.
You're now seeing a massive American-British partnership between owners of football teams, ice hockey teams that own.
I was discussing this with somebody the other day about American ownership in football. Do you think it works? Historically, has it worked, especially in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think you've got Fulham, Liverpool,
United,
Man United, who for all that's going on with Man United, it's not been a negative thing having the Glazers coming in and doing what they've done. They just don't like where they're what they've done financially for the club at the minute. But I think, but you look at Bournemouth now. Yes, they've not sort of got to where they were, but they're probably a more established team and things. And I think Leeds are a big club for what they are, and they're in the Championship again next year. So having that American money hopefully stabilises them a little bit, keeps hold of some of the players, maybe bring in some more players that can get them back up and keep them there.
I think we've got to just the American owners, and I think Ryan Reynolds and the other guy. Never remember. Yeah. I feel quite bad for Rob, but there you go, because nobody ever remembers him. They've done really well, and they've kept the English game and all the traditions and all English, it's Welsh, but the British game alive. And what I would not want to see is this American money coming in and the Saudi influence and money coming in from all over the world. And what it's actually doing is changing the foundations of the game and actually making it more hyped, kind of similar to what the big media company, the name slips me for now, when they bought Formula One, it just became sort of instantly a lot more hyped. I'd like to see it retain its core values and foundations.
So a bit of what you said there, we'll talk about it now, with the Saudi influence, with Live Golf merging with PGA.
Huge news.
And out of nowhere, there was no rumours building up to it, just announcement, we've merged. And there's still a lot of things to sort out in terms of what format the game's going to be played at. How is it going to be the 3 days? Is it going to be everyone no cut? There's no talks of how that's going to happen. But you've got an awful lot of golfers who got extremely rich for a year that are now part of the PGA, and you've got some golfers that try to stay true to their values, but are effectively going to be doing the Saudi thing now because they have now got a bigger foothold across more now major sports.
Yeah. Did sound like a really underhanded deal, but some of most, if not all, of the pros on both sides had absolutely no idea this was happening. And it, like you say, it came out of the blue, and the PGA guys have a right, in my opinion, to be pissed.
Yeah, 100%.
It was just the way
it just got announced.
Yeah. And I feel for Rory going in. It's the Canadian Open this week. He's second on the leaderboard again, two off top.
He's going to throw that one away again.
Yeah, he's with Fleetwood, he's with Rose up there. Hopefully one of those guys. I'd love to see Tommy Fleetwood get some, but I love Justin Rose as a person as well. Justin Rose winning the US Open quite a few years ago now, on Father's Day, the year on from his father passing. We've got the US Open coming up at Pebble Beach. You haven't got some big names in Tiger Woods, Graham McDowell, Westwood, Webb Simpson, some of the previous winners, but you've got Matt Fitzpatrick of Sheffield, local lad, reigning champion. he's done all right in the last 12 months, and hopefully he can push on. I think he's got a few more majors in him as well. You've got obviously Scotty, Colin McGregor, Spieth always comes good around then. Favourites obviously Scotty, John Ram, Brooks is up there, Rory. So I read a thing as well this week. Someone in America has this system of working out who's favourite for tournaments, and it's based on like a previous 9, where they lie. It's a bit like this octopus in the World Cup a few years ago where it predicts, but it's like a solid thing, and it's got 7 of the last 9 majors correct. And for this one, it's got Patrick Cantley as the winner.
So, really?
And in form, could easily come through. Why not? And then Victor Hovland, who we've discussed on here before, won the Memorial Day after a playoff last week, going into a major again. What's to say he can't come good?
It's worth an each way.
A little bit of boxing. Sonny Edwards picked up a points win last night. A lot of hype around him. He after the fight, he came out and said that he aimed to win 9 rounds and let his opponent, because he travelled from afar, him and his fans let him win a few rounds. And a little bit arrogant, but based on what everyone's saying, I think from a skill set wise, he could probably afford to do that. And at their weights, you're not really got to worry about knockout power or getting caught. So, sort of that sort of skill set, he's definitely one to watch. Josh Taylor lost to Lopez on points. 2 judges had it 115, 113, another had it 117, 111. I think for me, Josh Taylor been out of the ring for 15 months since the situation last year where Jack Catterall, where he effectively got smashed for 12 rounds and still picked up a victory / draw. It was a very...
I saw him get absolutely rocked towards the end of the fight as well yesterday.
Yeah, it's the last couple of rounds he got rocked. He got head snapped back in the 12th as well. I don't think there'll be any arguments for...
I've seen his interview that he had in the ring afterwards, and he pretty much put his hands up and he was like, yeah, better guy won.
Yeah, I was more surprised 2 judges had it as close as 115, 113. I thought the 117, 111 was probably the fairest of all the cards.
Yeah.
Going into this week, quite a good little week coming ahead with Fraser Clarke fighting at the weekend. I look forward to that.
Looking forward to the Canadian Grand Prix. So this is the first weekend where we've not had a Formula One race to talk about live. It's next weekend we're going to have a week's break. Despite the air quality concerns from the wildfires that are making news around the world, there will still be a Canadian Grand Prix up to now. The fires are in Quebec, which is a fair distance away, but the smoke is currently not drifting anywhere of concern. So up to now...
I think from what I've seen, the smoke's going south, which is why America's getting...
Yeah, New York.
Is that why New York turned orange?
Yeah.
New York did turn orange.
The track's north of where it's happening, so it's become a problem.
Yeah. The circuit has 14 corners, 2 DRS zones, measures 4.3 kilometres in length, which makes the race 70 laps. There's no other real major news out of Formula One other than a really, really strong performance from Mercedes last week as their upgrades deliver instantaneous results they were after. Do you think they can challenge Red Bull this coming weekend?
Canada's got a massive soft spot for me. Lewis Hamilton's maiden victory, 2007. It's one of my favourite tracks. I think Lewis always comes good there. You can't look beyond a Red Bull. But there's been 417 laps this season so far.
Yep.
You say there's another 70 laps there.
Yep.
How many laps do you think Red Bull have led out of that 417?
So, where Verstappen hasn't been dominant, Perez has, which is testament to Perez, to be fair. I think my prediction would probably be in the high 300s, maybe 377.
401.
I was actually going to say stab in the dark. 'Cause it's not really a sport I watch massively. You two obviously talk about Red Bull. I was genuinely going to say about 410. I was going to say I reckon they've just dominated the whole thing.
Only 16 laps have been led by a non.
And do you know when that probably is? That is probably when the leader or both have come in for a pit stop and they're just waiting for the strategy to pay off.
Yeah. On motorsport, today has seen the conclusion of the 24-hour Le Mans, with Ferrari taking the hypercar victory, with former F1 driver Antonio Giovinazzi as one of the three drivers. So you tend to see quite a few former F1 drivers in it. You've had Paul di Resta in it, Jack Aikiden, the former Williams driver who stuck to his Williams traditions, and he crashed on the first lap last night. So yeah, I think just the 100th Le Mans series, so for Ferrari, such an iconic name to win was quite nice.
The race will take place at a much more UK friendly time of 7 p.m. next week, next Sunday. So we aim to bring you all the highlights of free practice and qualifying on next week's podcast, with a special roundup the week after.
Finishing up with cricket this week, building up to the Ashes, the Aussies have played India in the final of the World Test Championship, which they've won today, quite convincingly as well. But it's not all hunky-dory for them. They've had a few fielding issues, quite a lot of drop catches, which hopefully plays into England's favours as of the Ashes. There was one catch from Green, which was absolutely phenomenal. Don't know if anyone's seen it, but it went to review and it was given out. It definitely got grounded. You've got Moeen coming out of retirement for England, which I think is a bit of an odd one. I think it would have been nice to have seen Surrey's Will Jack or Rehan Ahmed come through. I think he's 35, he's had a few Ashes, let's bring some of the youth through. But I just can't see beyond an Aussie Ashes again.
Really?
Yeah, I just think they've got too much strength in the bowling. Stuart Broad's had a nice time, but he's aging. But if the Aussies bowlers are finding the right lengths like they have been,
Especially these last couple of days against India, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I do think it's unfortunately going to be with them for a while. England just aren't quite the team that they have been in the last sort of 10 years. I think they've lacked a little bit of depth, hence having to bring someone out of retirement as a spin bowler. That's everything for episode 3. Thanks for joining us. As usual, like, subscribe and download the episode. You can get us on social media at SportscastPod UK. Interact with us there. Any questions, any topics that you'd particularly like us to talk about, any sport that we're not really covering, we're trying to get as much in as we can. I've been Liam.
I've been Jordan.
And I've been Tom.
Tune in next week.